And sure enough, some of us have seen the future, and it is certainly murder. It's been murder for quite some time, in fact, but just quieter. And we're talking to Dan from Colorado, who was asking the question, which some of the New Agers ask because they're taught not to look at the negative and just to think positively in their own little lives. Their own personal lives will be just hunky-dory. And they don't see the big express train coming up behind them as they have the Sony Walkman earphones on. They don't want to know. And the answer, as I was saying to Dan, is that, well, number one, when people ask me about the truth, I do ask them, I said, do you really want it? Do you really think very carefully if you want the truth? Because once you open Pandora's box, there's no stopping it. And it's going to change you drastically. It's going to make you not only see the world differently, but yourself as well. Because you'll reevaluate everything that you ever knew, including your opinions about yourself. Because it comes down to the self, ultimately. Who are you and what are you going to do about all of this now that you know? And you'll have no peace. And you will lose friends, and you might even lose your mates as well. That's pretty common. So the thing is, nothing can change this without people understanding not just the basics, as I'm talking about here tonight, but the complexities and the intricacies of it all, and your own personal part in all of it too. Because they say that you're the microcosm in a sense, and you are. And what is true in all ages is that it's the individual that starts off the rippling effect. This is the big Q factor that they hate at the top. They want a world where everybody, no individual excluded, will be monitored and understood and controlled perfectly. Up until now, the occasional individual here and there in every generation can pop up and start saying that the king has no clothes in such a way that the public suddenly understand and the spell is broken, and their intentions are diverted for a while. We can divert this big scheme, and you can only do it by knowing what's happening. Because if we don't, it's a horror show, literally a horror show. This society they're bringing in, this global plantation with a reduced population, and if you really understood what they've already done to the public, to make them sick, for instance. Sick people make bad spouses and not good material for mating up with someone. And they decided a long time ago that the population reduction programs, they take Africa down quickly, but with the West, because there's more power there and there's more communication, they'd have to do it slowly, and so they decided to put out all these diseases that would make people sick, and the chronic fatigue and all the rest of it. And lo and behold, we had one thing after another hitting the general public out of nowhere that had all the lower doctors scratching their heads. Epstein-Barr virus and a whole bunch of things, which certainly did initially hit mainly the female population, and now it's coming into the male population too. Exactly as they said. They've been doing hellish things to the public because you can't tell the children what you're doing to them. We're treated like children. They can't come out and tell us. If they asked us all 20 years ago to start reducing the population, and by starting with ourselves, well, no one would step forward and volunteer. So they do it. And that was the whole point of creating the Royal Institute for International Affairs, a parallel government, because they said that democracy and the bickering with politicians and, as I say, the irreconcilable factors amongst groups within society were just too different, too much at odds, and they were at loggerheads with each other. They could not get their big agenda through. Therefore, the parallel government would not be responsible to the public, and it could steamroll ahead and bring in their new world order. That's what's been happening.